And now may I invite Professor Chung for the keynote speech, please.
Good morning, Professor Shek, Professor Chan, ladies and gentlemen, and young ladies and young gentlemen. Greetings. Since this is called the Global Youth Leader Summit, I'm going to talk about these three words: global, young, and leader. And I would like to speak on these three words with the experience and context of DHL. Now, I would like to see from the visitors' hand how many of you have not heard of DHL. Is there a lady there? Did you put up your hand? Where are you from? I make sure that next time we will have this serve DHL in your city. Brief history of DHL, very brief. DHL was founded by three gentlemen from the west coast of the United States. And their name is Adrian Dorsey, Larry Hilblum, and Robert Lin. Therefore, it's Hilblum, Dorsey, Hilblum, and Lin, and not documents hopelessly lost. A lot of people think that, but that one's not true. So, we started DHL in they started DHL in 1969, and we cover all the countries by the time that we are 1980. Of course, when Russia broke up, it became many new countries after they broke up. And from that time, when they broke up until last year, we were able to cover all of them. So now we are in all the countries and all the territories around the world. So Guam is a territory, Hong Kong is a territory, Macau is a territory, but we are not a country. So, however, in the first 15 years, we opened up 120 countries, one every 5 weeks, and 700 stations, one every 8 days. And now we serve 230 countries and territories and 84,000 stations, and we have more than 100,000 staff. This might be boring statistics, but actually what it is, it leads to my talk this morning is how do we find so many leaders leading so many points of service in the world. So I can tell you other things about DHL, about the cash flow problem, postal monopoly fight. I was arrested and booked on breaking the postal monopoly. But the most important thing we did was finding young leaders, finding leaders to lead all those stations. Now, the detail of that journey, this is the 50th year, and I'm writing this book, and it will come up in September. This will give you the details of how we did it in detail. But this morning, I'm going to give you the summary, and so I hope by September, you'll be so curious that you will buy one of this book. So this is the only advertising I'm going to do. But in the Hong Kong tradition, there are no free lunches. So buy the book, okay? Yeah. So the DHL leadership secret. So I thought that maybe you you are already leaders. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here. But I thought that if I go through with you the journey of the DHL leadership journey, then you can learn something that you can keep and take it with you. So, all around the world, all of us, when we follow somebody or we join a company, we usually ask, what's in it for me to follow you? Or what's in it for me to work for your company? Can you teach me to be more competent? Can I trust you and respect you? Will you give me help when I trip and fall? So, everywhere in the world, there are three lowest common denominator for leadership and followership. And it's competence, character, and care. Competence is on the logic, is on the STEM, the science, technology, engineering, and math. But you need also the moral competence so that people would follow you. And also you need the care because you want people to follow you for a long time. So then you don't have a large turnover. So we call that the 3 C's of leadership. And one of the most important thing also is when you go out, and I will talk about it later, is if you have a message, make it very simple. And the 3 C's is very simple. Because if you go out and build your network, sooner or later, if it's very complicated, it gets lost. So keep your message simple. And 3 C's is about as simple as we can get it. I will talk about the why, the what, and the who, and the how of leadership, where DHL practice. First, the why of leadership. The why of leadership is human being competes in, actually human being is the only animal, only creature that competes in groups, in networks. These are not my idea. This is by the Israeli author Noah Harari. He wrote Homo sapien. This is what he said. Human is the only creatures that compete in networks, in groups. And its superior network led by superior leader always outcompete the inferior leader leading inferior networks. Therefore, at the end of the day, it is superior leader competing against inferior leaders. It's leaders against leaders. So nobody competes by himself. Now we may imagine that in a boxing ring, the boxer is the only guy that's actually fighting in the ring. But don't forget, the people who carry his towel, carry his water, his chief coach and trainer, actually everybody supports him so that he can get onto the mat, get onto the ring to fight. So it's leaders, group against groups, and leaders against leader. Then the what of leadership. What leadership is competence, character, and care. Why do we need competence? Because people who follow you or start working for your group is saying, is this group competent? Do they provide good service? Does this NGO provide good service? And also, will it be here next year so that I don't have to find a new job? This is. And are the leaders and managers competent in doing their job and leading the team? Can I learn technical and leadership skill here that I can take with me for the rest of my life? So, this is the first question answering what's in it for me to follow you. So, most people, relatively selfish. They have to ask the question, what's in it for me to follow you? Otherwise, I can follow a better leader. Second, why character? A leader without good character, there's no trust and no respect. And bad character actually repel followers. People leave. The worst thing is good people leave first and the rubbish stay behind. So, the best follower would leave first because they can find a better job someplace else, or they can follow a leader some other places. So, going a little bit into the character. A character, what is good character? A character is somebody who, this is a simple one. It is by the first year student at West Point. It says, I will not lie, cheat, steal, or tolerate those who do. A lot of people would say, I will not lie, I will not cheat, and I will not steal. But if you want to be a leader, you have to have the second half of that statement is, I will not tolerate people who cheat you, lie to you, and steal from you. That means he's also not cheat you, but he's also, or she is there to protect you. When somebody lie to you, cheat you, and steal from you. Right. So, this is the Confucius list of things that you don't do. It is, you cannot be unkind, should not be unfair, should not be rude, should not be unwise, lie, should not be disloyal, cowardly, you should not be corrupt, shameless, respectful to the elder, should not be unkind to the young, and also should not repeat mistakes and unforgive. So, Confucius said all those in the positive. It says kind, fair, but actually what he said was don't do these. Don't do the opposite. So it's double negative. Remember, if you're Chinese, it's easier to remember this. But if you're not Chinese, you can remember and say, don't lie, don't cheat, and don't steal. The other part of you may be coming from the Christian tradition, would be the third to the last commandment. You can check that in the Bible, so I will not read those to you. So this is the third C. Third C is care. Why care? Do the leaders here care about me? If I trip and fall, would he or she help me to get up? Okay. Do they care about the tribe? Do they care about the group? Do they care about the planet? Do they care for things that are bigger than themselves? Or are they just care about themselves? So care is an important part of being a leader. Theodore Roosevelt was the president of the United States during the First World War, or after the First World War. He said, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. So also, charisma, a lot of charisma is not just for show. Charisma doesn't come across unless you can show care and you can demonstrate care. So, those were the 3 C's of what you have to have for a global leadership. That's what we try to pass on to our young couriers when they join. Then that's the how. So why, what, and how. We use the master and apprentice method. First, I learn. Then I do. You watch. You follow me, because courier service is not rocket science. You can probably learn everything technical in about 2 weeks. So first, I learn. Then, when a new courier comes, I do. He watches, or she watches. Then, second is you learn, and I watch you and see if you're doing everything right. And a lot of the things that we pass on is not the technical skills. It's more of the interpersonal skills. It's like, you know, women love to have you praise their shoes. So for you guys, when you walk up to a lady, you say, hey, I like your shoes, right? Yeah, and when you you repeatedly go into the office, or like we do, go into the mail room, notice people when they have their hair fixed, right? Notice people when they have a haircut. So even 55-year-old men, when you praise them about comment on their new haircut, they appreciate it. That means you are paying attention to them. Right? So those are the things they say. First, I learn. Then you do. I do. You watch. Then you learn. And then you became a master. So you do. And then when a new guy comes, you do. She watches or he watches. And then all of a sudden, now you have 2 or 3 masters. So it's not only doing, but also coaching. So make sure that by the time you have 6 people, you have 6 coaches and 6 masters. And when you need to open up another city, then you send the best one to open up Kuala Lumpur or Mumbai, Nigeria, right? So that's how we could create or train or groom so many leaders in such a short time. So from apprentice to master, so for you, you are starting, let's say, 2nd level, because you are already leaders, but you have a long ladder to climb to go to the top. So first, look for the leader you want to follow. Then follow her or follow him. Then become the leader you want to be. And look for competence, but also look for character and care. Then we all become masters and coaches on every level of the leadership ladder. So it's not like all of a sudden, well, you are the leader or at the top of a big organization. Actually, we all, or at least I did, was courier first, supervisor, and then superintendent, manager, and then managing director and chairman. So it's not all of a sudden you are the top of a pyramid. You have to follow this master apprentice method as you grow up. And also we believe in 15 minutes of leadership every day, because let's say you are the supervisor of a group. You are in charge, or you are the leader of that group. However, if you want to go to lunch and say, where should we go to lunch? And somebody say, well, let's go next door, the next street, and we'll go to GYLS. food. Well, all of a sudden, you don't know Chitel food. But this guy became a leader for 15 minutes. And he get a lot of psychic income by being that 15 minutes of leader. And then he accumulate those psychic income and become the psychic emotional asset. And that's how you help your followers to build their self-esteem, is to let them lead at various times of the day or various times of the week. So what we did was we just covered the why, the what, and the how of become a global leader in the DHL method, the DHL way. This is a repeat of what I just told you. You say being a leader is first you tell them what you are going to tell them, then tell them what you want to tell them, and then finally tell them what you just told them. So this is what I just told you part, right? So why? Human competes in networks, and at the end of the day is leader competing against leader. What? It's competence. Competence only is not enough. You have to have character and you have to have care. Now, competence is all right in the last century if we want to make products for the rest of the world. Competence is making sure you do things right. So in a production line, you don't want to improvise. Otherwise, every gadget would be different. Now, you have to be efficient and also top-down command and control. That's last century, because all the manufacturing is going to countries that has, I would say, inexpensive labor. But now, if all the inexpensive labor is going to China, going to Vietnam, going to Bangladesh, you get jobs. But what about the ones left in Hong Kong, in North America, in Australia? We are left with service jobs. And service, you do it through people. And if you can motivate the people, get them more intensive engagement in what they do, that's what a leader has to do in the 21st century. 20th century passed. 21st century is people. So how? How is find the leader you want to follow, become the leader you want to follow. Also, if you want to be a global leader, you have to sustain a network. So first, you work on this surface, it's self-leadership. You have to do it first. Then you lead the tribe. You lead the organization, and then you can lead a network. Now, this is what we call concentric circles. First you, then your smaller group, then the bigger group, then about a remote network. We are faced with a problem where people say we want to be the country that lead the world. However, they forgot, in order to lead the world, you have to have a whole bunch of people that has character, integrity, and care. Otherwise, you cannot lead a global or even a regional network. So, one more thought before I leave is A young leader is like a startup entrepreneur. In fact, you are on an entrepreneurial journey of your life. You are the entrepreneur of your life because nobody lived your life before you. And you have no team, you have no money, you may not even have an idea, you only have you. So how do you make other people to follow you? So make yourself the message and keep that message simple and easy to remember. Around the world, we find that unless you are logical and rational, and unless you are moral and ethical, nobody will follow you. And then it is from 1 C to 3 C's. So build trust and respect with competence, character, and care. Now, I am standing here speaking as a baby boomer. Now, this is why I tell you why we fail, right? We fail because we are greedy, most of us, right? We are short-sighted, and we destroy a lot of the economy system, the social system, the political system, supply chain system, financial system. We destroy a lot of our humanness, and also we destroy our environment. So it's up to you guys, when you get your turn to lead the world, you have to change all that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Chung. Please stay. And now comes to a Q&A session, and we are glad to have Professor Daniel Sheck to facilitate the session.
So, please join me in thanking Paul for his inspiring speech, okay? Any questions on the floor?
Hi, I'm Hannah. I'm from Germany. I was wondering if you could elaborate a bit more on your personal journey, maybe? Because like, it's a really nice speech, but it would be nice to also know, like how you kind of went through all these stages personally.
Good question. So, why, what, and how? But from Paul's personal journey, right?
Well, when we started DHL, it was in the late 60s. Number one, there weren't too many MBAs, so not too many of them were trained in business administration. And we also find out that actually business schools train managers. Business schools don't train leaders. Don't train leaders. And now, after 40 years of important and famous business school, and I can find you the Harvard Business Review 4-page article. They're stretching their head and say, how come we are not producing leaders? We're just producing managers. Now, when you have to build a global network, we found that managers trained by business school, they have skills, but they also have a fixed mindset of how to do things and what to do. But if you walk into a jungle, or when you walk into a developing country, I'm not picking on Indonesia. Let's say Hong Kong learned something from Harvard Business School. I went to Stanford, but they do. Yeah. So Harvard, they would, if I went to Harvard, I taught from Harvard what I should do in Hong Kong. It's relatively okay because Hong Kong is a sophisticated city. If you go to take the same model to Jakarta, it's still okay, pretty. But if you go to Bali, and Bali in 1969, 1972, they don't even have international hotels. If you take that model, management model, into a country where they have very sophisticated and very unsophisticated operating environment, then leader is better than manager. Because then the managers is saying that how come they never heard of budget, never heard of strategic plans, never, when we started, we didn't even know what a budget was, or at least I didn't know what a budget is. It's not until 8 years later when I went to Stanford, oh, is that what it's called, a budget? Yeah. So leader will prepare you to go into any place, and then you'll be able to lead. So that's my first. So that's first. I realized the why, the importance of leadership, and then the what. The what is not what you know what to do. That is the doing of leadership, but it's who you are that makes you what the leader is. So it's doing of leadership and being of leadership. So doing of leadership and doing is knowing what to do, or doing things right. Doing things right is the first one. Second one is doing the right thing. That makes you the why, and the second item of why. And then the third item is doing the right thing with the right heart. If you don't do it with the right heart, then that's why we have all these problems around the world, because the baby boomers did not have the right heart. So it's now for you guys, the millennials, to pick up the pieces. So I'll be, a lot of people say, hey, you actually, DHL helped to globalize the world. Right? But when we did it, we didn't know all the shortcomings of a globalized world. And sometimes I stay up at night and scratch myself and should I have something else? Because that's a soul searching of global leaders. You have to search now is whether we did the right thing. We enabled it to happen, but now there are the shortcomings of a globalized world.
Thank you, Prof.
Hello, Professor. I want to see. I'm just a visitor seat, but I have two questions.
So where do you come from?
I'm from Hong University, and my major is mathematical for economics and finance. So I have two questions. The first one is, you see how to be a good leader. He or she should have some characters. You see, just to no lie or no chat or no steal. I think it is too normal or too common. If you want to be a special business leader, what kind of special character he or she should have? And the second question is, if I have a new idea, I want to start up my business. How should what should I do to have angle investment or have my own seed finance? Okay, thank you.
Okay, two questions. The first one is, what special character qualities should one have, or should a leader have? Okay, besides not lying, not stealing. so she thought that those things are too common. Yeah. So she want to know whether any special quality. So maybe we deal with this question first.
Right. I wrote another book. It's called the 5 Dynamics of Entrepreneurship. It gives you 10 guidelines on being an entrepreneur. In fact, I mentioned it in one of my slides to say, you guys, if you want to be a leader, actually you are all entrepreneurs. Entrepreneur is a leader. Also, there are things that you don't do as a leader. Because if you do it as a leader and have those faults, then people would not follow you. Even if you have, say, you started with the garage team, right? Garage team, 5 people. If you cannot hold these 5 people together because they don't respect you, they don't trust you, your group would drift apart or disintegrate. That is why 90% of all startups fail. I would say many of them did not fail because of the idea. Many of them failed because the leader could not hold that 5 group of 5 together because of their personality, because of their ethical, their integrity. Right? So, there will be things that you have to learn and say, well, this is a startup, we don't have the money. Well, actually, most startups don't have money. They don't have customers, they don't have friends, they don't have bankers, they don't have resources. They only have an idea. So idea is not enough. In fact, I am talking to the science park in Hong Kong, where they have 19 buildings, 2,000 startups in the science park. And I am talking to them, talking about the soft skill. How does a leader hold together the beginning 5 people or 6 people? Then is how do they expand? How do they recruit the following 10 people and make sure that they are together? So character is very important. Trust is very important. Otherwise, the good people will leave.
So remember, I talked about STEM this morning. So the T is trust. So this is what Paul has just said. Okay. So her second question is: it seems that she wants to start a business.
Yes.
Her question is how can she do it, particularly for the budget and finance?
Yeah. So first, you have to have an idea. And the idea has to be a breakthrough idea. So 10% cheaper, 20% cheaper is not enough. It has to be 100%. Well, you can't have 100% cheaper. My math is terrible. So it's 50% cheaper. So number one is the idea. You have to have an idea. So it has to be a breakthrough idea. Second one is you have to have a team that would support you. So you are the who. I talk about the why, the what, and the how. But on that book, which I recommend you to buy, also talk about the who else, the where, and then the when. Where is it's not only you, the idea, but also where is the best way I can describe it is the habitat. You have to create the habitat to support whatever you are doing. And if it is a people business service, then it has to be a habitat that is designed to keep people, to keep good people, so that you don't have a continuous turnover. Because turnover is very expensive, particularly in the service. In a production line, when a young person leave or young lady leave, you can put another young lady in, and you can train them to do it in, if not a day, 2 days, if not 2 days, maybe a week. But if a service person leaves, for example, in the Grand Hyatt, it takes you about 6 months to get that guy to actually get the orders right, the order. Because do you know in an American breakfast, you have 6 hot drinks, 6 cold drinks, 6 kind of bread, 6 kind of spread, like marmalade and butter, 6 kind of meat, 6 kind of way of fixing eggs. So 6 times 6, 6 times 6, 6 times 6, 7 times. That's how many 126,000 unique combination to get your one order right. And if you have 6 people sitting on the table, it's like a million combinations. Get that person to get it right in the right order to the right person. It takes 6 months to train them. So training manufacturing workers is not the same as teaching, training service providers. And if one of them leaves, it takes you a lot of time and also very expensive to replace. Also, they have to serve with a smile. So not only getting it right, they have to show the smile. Now, one way that we recruit in DHL is we put a distance between the recruiting chair or the panel through 2 or 3 people and the candidate coming in. When the candidate comes in, we start smiling with him. If he doesn't smile back, he can go out the back door. Because it's very difficult. You can teach him how to pick up delivery, but it's very difficult to teach people to smile. So if he doesn't come in with a smile, forget it. We don't want it. Then people say, well, where did they go? I say, go back to the factories. Okay? Yeah.
Okay, that girl at the end. Yeah. Because we have answered 2 questions on this one, so yeah.
Hi, my name is Yadira from Australia. My question is, as a young leader, we often have to create social change through new ideas, and the stumbling block is often cultural change from older generations. I was wondering what your top tips are for creating effective cultural change.
How to create this effective cultural change? Particularly, she gave an example of intergenerational solidarity or understanding.
The cultural change actually has to come more than 1 generation. It takes about 2 or 3 generations to change a culture. And also it depends on what you want to change. There are seeded culture for hundreds and thousands of years. Pick something easier first. Then establish your credibility, your confidence, and your self-esteem, and then you go and try to change a more difficult one. I just came back from Oxford University, and there were 2 professors from the Oxford University Business School, the Said Business School at Oxford. And then these 2 ladies were talking about how much difficult they have in changing the boardroom. Why not more women, right? And I said, you picked the wrong place. If you go to primary schools, then all the men would complain why they don't become principals in primary schools. Because if you go to primary school, all the leaders are women. And also, if you want to change female classical orchestra conductors, they are more, less than a dozen in hundreds of orchestras around the world. So it's not the orchestra who pick the director. It is the audience that pick the director. But I don't know. When I close my eyes, I can hear the difference between a male conductor and a female conductor. But why so many male and not enough female? The other observation I had was it used to be female artists don't get recognized, but now they are getting more and more and more. So it's a long one, but like I said in the beginning, pick something that's easy, do it first, and learn the ropes so that you can take on more bigger and more important issues. Does that answer the question? You may not be happy with the question, but that's reality.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Hi, my name is Muhammad Farhan. I'm from Pakistan and I'm a student of Poly. My question is that most of the companies like DHL and around the world, they focus to develop leadership qualities in their employees. They want their employees to become future leaders, to work better in a team, to work under pressure. But I think they are constricting the growth of future leaders. And the best way to describe this problem is to use an old adage. When the only tool you have is a hammer, of course every problem will look like a nail. And that's what we're doing to our future leaders. We're telling them to work in a team, to work under pressure, but we're not focusing on basic necessities and the basic values that make us human. That includes to be empathetic, to be respectful, to listen even. That's, I think, the most important quality of a leader. So do you think that companies and employers, they should focus more on these basic values rather than teaching them how to be more resourceful in a working environment?
I went to a Hong Kong British-style boarding school. What I learned was having a liberal arts education is very important, so that you are not looking at tunnels of. So in St. Stephen's College in Stanley, which is a boarding school, we learn geography, history, Chinese literature, English literature, all that. When I went to the United States, I also went to a liberal arts college where I learned sociology, psychology, statistics, and philosophy, and more higher realm of broader vision or broader knowledge. And that's where future leaders should come, not only in the first step, which is science, technology, engineering, math, but they should come with the service mentality, trust, empathy, and people skill. Because at Stanford, we always laugh at Berkeley and say, how come all the Berkeley people come and work for Stanford people? How come all the MIT people come and work for Princeton people? Because Princeton and Stanford train people who can be up here instead of very narrow blinkers. We need both of them. Right? So if you say, if you have a choice, I would pick somebody who is from a liberal arts education background. We even avoid the business background. Business is learning all the tools. And liberal arts is learning how to think and how to appreciate value so that you can lead. When it comes to up here, it's all about values, behavior, and your reputation.
Thank you. I'll start moving on. Yeah, please.
First of all, I would like to thank you, Professor Chung, and I'm Jason from Sweden. And I have a question about, because we had a lot of questions related to leadership, but I want to focus more on social innovation. And what do you think that is causing different developing speed in different stations, in different locations, as in terms of DHL development? And if you allow me to further extend my question, what do you think that cause different developing speed in different society and different countries? Thank you.
That's a good question. This is from the DHL experience, context, and observation. But actually, if you really separate the world into two categories of culture and development, there is cultures that are very good in making things, and there are cultures that are very good in serving. The making things from east to west. Japan is very good in making things. Korea is, Taiwan is not a country. Yeah. I have to be careful. China is, Germany is. Germany, France, Italy, Turkey, Eastern Europe, very good in making things. Because basically they came from a top-down, we call it the civil law, continental culture. Japan was ready to go out to the rest of the world in the 1990s. Why did they fall? A lot of people blame the Americans, say, that's because of it happened in a hotel. It's called, they tried to make Japan change the exchange rate. The Plaza Accord, right? They blamed it on Plaza Accord was the American conspiracy to hit Japan. But actually, there were 4 other countries, so 3 other countries at the Plaza Accord. Germany, France, and England. Why did those three fail? Right? Japan fell. Japan failed because they failed to integrate with non-Japanese managers around the world. They have their own culture, they have their own way of communicating, they have their own, always go up one layer for approval. People down here cannot make decisions, they go up. The problem with that is if they go up, eventually it goes back to Tokyo. And yet in the 90s, the Tokyo honchos do not speak English, number 1. Number 2 is they've never been to Indonesia. So the Indonesia guys say, well, should we go into this syndicated loan? The guy in Japan doesn't know how to make that decision. So it takes about 3 weeks. And the guys in Charter Bank or Singapore Bank and also the Hong Kong Bank say, next time don't ask the Japanese because they always make us miss the deadline. So, okay, manufacturing, very good. But the trading, the maritime, is the British, Canadian, American, Australian, New Zealand, Hong Kong, Singapore, Malaysia. These are the maritime, the trading companies, the trading mentality. So, Japan has its, and Germany and France has their own service, but they only service the product they produce. So camera, TV, cars, they service those. But as far as the trading and worldwide banks, the latest failure is Deutsche Bank, German bank. They have cut it, okay, right? Time to go home. Let's pick up our marbles and we're going to go home. That's it. There are a lot of good 5-star, 6-star hotels all over the world. Japan has their Imperial Hotel, Okuda. Korea has a 5-star hotel, Chosen, Lotte, right? Paris has a hotel, Joshank, and a whole bunch of them. Rome has their own hotel, Berlin has their 5-star hotel. But how come there are no 5-star world hotel, international hotel outside those? So if you look at all the 5-6-star hotels in the world, Hyatt, Marriott, Hilton, Conrad, Four Seasons, Fremont from Canada, Japan. The last international hotel in Japan is called Nikko. That they left 3 years or 4 years ago. Yeah. The French hotel, Novotel, Sovotel, they are in the in streets, side streets. They are not in the main boulevard. When China opened up 1979, 70, 80, so they invited international hotel to go to China to open up. So they built good Chinese building, and then Hyatt would go in and negotiate, and Marriott would go in and negotiate. And of course, the foreigners would like a long contract. They say, well, if we come in, we want to set up for a contract for 50 years. And the Chinese say, no, 25 years maximum. Among themselves, they say, what can we learn in 25 years that we cannot learn? So, 25 years later, after 1980, all those contracts were renewed because they find out there are things that you just cannot learn in 25 years, which is basically a service mindset. Right? There are no international hotel, Japanese hotel, no international, well, they're Kempinski, but they are, second. There is Novotel, like I said. But all the 6-star hotels, all the banks, all the advertising agencies, all the HR agencies, all the legal firms, all the accounting firms, they are all Anglo-American. And Hong Kong is a very special location. That's another conversation because you're in New York watching over the world for 8 hours. And then when they go to dinner, Hong Kong takes over. Hong Kong takes over for 8 hours, and then London takes over for 8 hours. When London goes to dinner, it goes back to New York. That's why there's something called the Ny-Lon-Kong, L-Y-N-Y-L-O-N-K-O-N-G. And if Hong Kong is not careful, Singapore will get it. Because we need a service function that serves not Hong Kong, not China, not even Asia. It is the world. Anything happen in South America, anything happen in South Africa or Africa in one of, let's say, Dow Chemicals plant. If anything happened in those, Hong Kong is on the watch. During Hong Kong's 8 hours, Patrick Ho, the regional manager of Dow Chemical, will get a call from Reuters, from CNN, and say, hey, Mr. Ho, what's going on? And if he gave the wrong answer, the shares start dropping in London.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. I saw a comment. Yeah.
I'm Alessia, I'm from Italy, and you mentioned globalization, and I think we're all pretty aware of what globalization is and all the pros of globalization. However, I do think that there are some counter arguments towards globalization, some things that could actually be detrimental to the world. And one of the things that I think, in my opinion, is not the worst thing about globalization, but something that we should be wary of is the loss of tradition and culture. Because through sharing everything, we kind of we risk becoming all the same, which is, it's good, but it's also bad because we lose years and centuries of culture and tradition. So that for me, it's the main issues with globalization. And I was wondering, first of all, what you think is the main issue with globalization, and if there's any solutions that maybe pop to your mind about how we can solve these issues and make globalization more, I don't know, better.
Okay. Thank you. Okay.
Now, whether globalization would make everybody the same, I don't believe in that. Because there is cultural, we call it DNA. Right? There are DNA of the Chinese culture because of Confucianism. But also, Confucianism has spread to Japan, Korea. It's called the chopstick Confucianism. So, when you have good things, and it is organic to the human brain and human heart, people take it, people adopt it. But there are things that are indigenous, particularly with religion. I don't think those DNA is going to disappear fast. Language, it will, because some old languages are dying, because less and less people speak. One thing also is Confucianism is in the DNA of the Chinese ethnic people. Although now is really taking a beating from Marxism, socialism, or whatever. But I think it will come back because it's basically humanness instinct. There are things that are in our heart. We say this is right and this is wrong. And if we give up the notion there are right things, there are wrong things, and everything became messy and very grayish, I think the pendulum will swing back. So it's not only President Trump may not be re-elected again, even if he stay another 4 years, I think when he's gone, there will be a backswing. Back to, I would say, all the way to fundamental Christian, not to the Mayfair kind of, but it will be. So basically, humans are organic, and we have feelings. The feeling is what's right and what's wrong. Also, like I said, it will be up to your, and I can see that coming. Your generation has a lot more heart, right? Care more about the environment, care about, I always tell my daughter, I say, AI is coming, be more human.
Thank you, Prof.
Okay.
Okay, in the interest of time, let me conclude this session here. Please give a big round of applause to the Prof.